Tuesday. Welcome back to Training Tuesday this week. I'm so happy to see you here. And tonight's topic is, as promised last week, resilience. And if you were on Training Tuesday last week, then you know that at the beginning of Training Tuesday, or if you go back to the recording of it, you'll know that at the beginning of it, I had said I was going to talk about resilience, but the whole passing of Nichelle Nichols had me thinking about role models, and I really wanted to talk about the importance of role models in our life and in our development. And so we did. And I think also that might have been the way the universe was just guiding me towards save resilience for a time when you really have something meaty to say about it. So, um, so yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to talk about resilience because given the week I've just had, which yes, I will share with you, but given the week I just had, this is a topic near and dear to me right now. And one that I think a lot of us, especially given what I've heard from friends and clients of mine about the week and weeks they've been having, feel like it could be really useful right now. Because what I want to talk about is this recipe of resilience. Resilience is not an innate characteristic. It's not a talent that we have. It's a skill that we cultivate. It is a way of responding to life that requires practice and cultivation. And so I want to talk about what the elements, what the ingredients are for cultivating our resilience. But I want to start by simply saying, what is it we're talking about anyway, right? So what is resilience? If we look at the Oxford English Dictionary, resilience is, and I am reading this, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. Toughness. Yay. Their second definition is the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape. Elasticity. So to be resilient is to be tough and elastic. So we're human beings. What are we springing back to? We're springing back to ourselves. It's really what it is. We are springing back to the grounded root of ourselves. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's talk about first, what requires resilience? Why is this something we should cultivate? Why is resilience important to how we start engaging with and going about our daily business? Well, resilience is something that comes up when we're knocked down, right? When we get knocked down, it takes some resilience to rebound and keep moving forward. Now, Brene Brown wrote Rising Strong, right? She wrote a whole book about resilience. And she opens it with the quote from Teddy Roosevelt about the man in the arena. It's a very famous quote, and it's basically a story that says, and I'm going to totally paraphrase, but basically it says, the man in the arena is the one out there doing the thing. And yeah, when we're out there doing the thing, doing our thing, we get knocked down sometimes. And a resilient man, a powerful man, a strong man, and man now I mean general terms, man, woman, person, stands back up, dusts themselves off, takes the lessons that they need, discards the ones that they don't, and goes at it again. Resilience is our ability to stand up, dust ourselves off, readjust our perspective, and go again. Because we're grounding back into who we are and what we're all about and what our purpose is, and we're ready to go after it again. Because getting knocked down, it's part of it. It's part of life. It's part of the journey, however you want to frame it. But we just don't avoid that. If you are in the arena, you do not avoid getting knocked down. And that is why people who are not in the arena, they don't get a vote. People who are not going after their purpose, going after what they want, living their lives according to their own sense of self and rules. If they're not out there putting it on the line every day, they don't get a vote on how you put it on the line. Okay, I'm getting off topic. So resilience, what requires resilience? Getting knocked down requires resilience. When we're disappointed, we need resilience. When we have to adjust our expectations, things aren't happening quite the way we thought they would, we need resilience. if we're feeling lost, we don't know what's going on, we're confused, things aren't going the way we thought they would or we expected them to. When things are ambiguous and there's no clear path, that's especially when we need resilience. And boundaries. Boundaries and resilience have a very symbiotic relationship. To have resilience, you have to have boundaries. To have your boundaries, you have to have resilience. They are very connected, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But for all of these things, these situations, it requires us to tap into this characteristic of resilience and to use it and to leverage it to help us move forward. So I'm going to share with you my week so that you can see why this felt like it was such an appropriate topic tonight. Because I have so many examples to draw upon, but I'm just going to give you the overview of the week and where I landed as I was thinking about this recipe for resilience and why it matters. And I'm going to start with literally last Tuesday. Last Tuesday, after Training Tuesday, we talked about role models and the importance of having other women in particular who we can model behaviors and ideas and thoughts after, who help inspire us. So right after Training Tuesday, I shut down my laptop. It was like 6:35, 6:40, and I went to bed. Tuesday, all day long, I was exhausted. And I wasn't feeling great, but I was more than anything not feeling great. I was just exhausted. And I thought that was part of the fact that I had just moved. As you can see, still boxes and stuff behind me. It's still chaotic. But I had just moved, and I'd been traveling, and I explained to you last week, right? All this stuff was happening. And so by Tuesday night, I was like, I probably just need a really good night's sleep. Plus, with all the stuff that was going on in the move, we were eating a lot of takeout. So I figured that was messing with my system a little bit. So it was just like a little cleaner eating, a little extra sleep, I'll be fine. So literally 6:35, shut down the laptop last Tuesday, went to bed. Said to my sons, I'm done for the day. Please walk the dog. Good night. And I went to bed. And it was not a restful sleep. In fact, it was kind of a fitful sleep. And I was feeling worse as the night and early morning hours went on, which is not what's supposed to happen when you go to bed, by the way, to take care of yourself. I woke up Wednesday morning feeling awful. And I pushed myself to come downstairs, make some coffee, walk the dog. And as soon as I came back from walking the dog, I collapsed in the other room on this little sofa bed I have in my office. I just collapsed on it. And I just lay there in the fetal position trying to figure out, what can I do today? Literally going through my list of meetings and appointments and things and trying to figure out, how much of this can I do? What do I actually have to cancel? And the longer I laid there, the longer I realized I can't get up. I don't want to get up. I feel terrible. I have no energy. So finally I made the call. This could be it. I could be dying. You should just go to bed. Went to bed. And I got to tell you, it was a really hard call for me. I don't know why. I never give anybody this advice, but when it comes to myself, I'm like, you can power through that. Power through it. Wednesday decided I felt badly enough I wasn't going to power through it. So I sent the blast email of canceling all my appointments and shut down and crawled into bed. By Wednesday night, I was not feeling better having spent the full day in bed and thought I should probably talk to somebody. Long story short, trip to urgent care netted nothing, telehealth call netted nothing. By Thursday morning, my boys were taking me to the hospital. Now, you guys are ambitious women and you're overachievers and you're a lot like me, which means I had the same thoughts going on that I know any of you would have had in the same situation. A lot of guilt. A lot of, but I have to do this and I ought to do that and I've got to respond to this. All that stuff is churning in my head. At the same time as this horrible realization that I can't perform. There's no high performance going on right now. It is just me, exhausted, wanting to do nothing but lay there and close my eyes. I can't even sleep. I'm tired of sleeping. But I also don't have any energy to do anything. Spent the day at the hospital. got the vague viral diagnosis, so no, it's not COVID, no, it's not monkeypox, but we don't really know what it is. And there's nothing we can do. So go home and rest for 4 or 5 more days, and then you should be fine, which is not what you want to hear when you feel crappy. So I'm wrestling from Tuesday through Thursday with all these thoughts of guilt and annoyance. I'm not a good sick person. Trying to figure out, is there a way to squeeze this in? Is there a way to squeeze that? And how can I do more than what I'm actually doing? And INSA was fighting the real need for my body to rest. Work didn't get done, deadlines were missed, coaching didn't happen, all of that. Friday morning, I thought I had a plan. Friday morning, I said, you know what? Maybe what I need is to give myself a bit of a second wind. And maybe if I get up and go about life normally, I'll just start feeling that energy and I'll feel better. At least for a little while. I'll get a few things done. Probably not my most brilliant moment or strategy, but literally this was my thought process. If I start doing more, I'll fuel energy and I'll keep going. It's kind of like when you're tired and you don't want to go to the gym after work and do that workout, but you push yourself and you do it anyway, and then halfway through the workout you're like, I'm so glad I'm here and I'm doing this. Or at least by the end of the workout you're glad that you did it. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. So Friday, I get in my car. I shower and I feel kind of human and good. So I get in my car to go run a couple errands. And in running these errands, I gently, very gently, hit a curb with my tires. You know how you kind of scrape a curb sometime if you're a little too close to the side? Hit the curb, ended up shredding 2 tires, front and back tire, passenger side of my car, flat shredded, which means on one of the hottest days of the year here in lovely New England, I'm waiting for a little over an hour and a half for roadside assistance to come tow my car. So now on top of the guilt and the stress of feeling sick and realizing I shouldn't have been out and I was, because I clearly wasn't driving as carefully as I should have been, and oh, by the way, my errands didn't get done because I was on my way. I now have to call the one son who's home and say, the one son's at work, one son was at home sleeping because he works an overnight shift, so he sleeps during the day, to say, yeah, I need a ride. So my son picks me up, and as I get in his truck, he basically leans over and he looks at me and he goes, you're grounded, and no, you can't borrow my truck. And he wasn't wrong. So now I'm deflated and exhausted because this little excursion exhausted me, on top of now the added expense of 2 flat tires, and we won't even go into all that. So there was Friday. Went back to bed. I literally came home and just went back to bed. But the universe is giving me a very hard message, and I'm going to listen this time. Saturday, stayed in bed. Because I don't have a car, one of my BFFs took me grocery shopping. Short excursion, bought groceries, came home. We didn't do anything wild. And that was enough to put me back in bed, which was fine. Sunday was a day trip where I had a couple of friends actually shepherding me carefully through the day trip. There was an important event going on for my boyfriend that I wanted to be there for. So basically, I showed up for the event. We watched the event. We had a meal. We got on the road and we came back home. Because I have very good friends who weren't going to let me do anything more but be the passenger and the observer. And yesterday, Monday, I worried about a relapse. So I'm going through this daily litany because I think for any of you who've been in similar situations, you know, as things like this drag on, what do? We spend time in our head beating ourselves up and fighting the guilt that we're not doing more, that we're not able to do more, but somehow we should be doing more. And so instead of focusing on the things that I can control and that I can do, like, I don't know, drinking more fluids and getting well, enjoying the fact that I can catch up on my Netflix shows. I finally finished Stranger Things, thank you very much. I'm not happy about Eddie. I'm instead spending important energy trying to fight it, trying to change a situation that I can't change, trying to change the dynamics of the world around me, which are what they are. And my body and my health is what it is at the moment. So we get to Tuesday. So I power through Monday. Didn't work. I snuck on a little bit and started rescheduling coaching calls and things like that. So I'm starting to get things back on track. But I was basically offline. Today was my first day back. I feel human. I'm here. Yes, I'm tired. And no joke, 45 minutes before going live, the power went out. The power went out. Just like a last minute subtle reminder that the world happens. So why are we talking about resilience? Because resilience is really about what's our response to the world. What is our response to the chaos, to the unexpected, to the things we can't control that waylay our plans, that change our expectations, that give us different outcomes that we don't want or don't need or just can't prepare for. And instead of turning it into, which is what I did, I wallowed for several days. I fought it. I let myself feel the guilt. I let myself feel angry and frustrated. And it took me some time to figure out, you know what, Natalie? You could shift your perspective on this a little bit, and you could turn this into something that is more purposeful and useful and more beneficial to you, and not just your physical health, but your mental and emotional health and your growth and what you have to offer the community. So that's the recipe I want to talk about when we talk about resilience, is what is the mix that we tap into to ensure that when we are dealing with ambiguity, when we are dealing with things going sideways, we are absolutely addressing it in the best way we can. We are absolutely comfortable aligning with who we are, grounding into ourselves and saying, all right, I got this. And we're not taking on the guilt or the anger or the frustration of the things that are beyond our control anyway. So in getting myself back on a path of not fighting what was happening, but actually working with it, I was revisiting some of my Chopra meditations. I love the Chopra app, by the way. If you are somebody who likes to meditate, highly recommend it. And in some of the meditations, they start talking about resilience and steps that you take to feed resilience. And so I borrowed from that, as well as from my own experience and some of my own past trainings. So I want to share with you the 3 key ingredients, right? 3 key ingredients in your recipe for cultivating resilience. And the first one is compassion. The first one is compassion. And the compassion part of it, I invite you to turn into a bit of a journaling exercise. When we need to revisit being kind to ourselves, and by compassion, I mean self-compassion, it extends to compassion for other people, but typically in a moment of resilience, it's ourselves we need to show the most compassion to. So we need to take a moment and start journaling. And if you don't want to call it journaling, just call it free writing. It doesn't have to be a journal, doesn't have to be in a book, can be on your phone, can be on a iPad, it can be on a scratch piece of paper, but the idea is to just start exploring with words. What's the story I'm telling myself? What is the story I was telling myself was that I was weak and wimpy and I could do more and I should do more. When you're feeling knocked down or insecure, when you're feeling unsettled, things are unclear, what is the story you tell yourself? This past week, I was weak, I was exaggerating, I was being a drama queen. Truth was, I was just sick. I was sick. So how true was the story I was telling myself? And I want you to journal about the story you're telling yourself from the perspective of, if your BFF came to you with this story, what would your response be to her? If she were to say to you, here's how my week went, and oh my gosh, I wish I wasn't such a wimp, because I probably could have pushed myself to do this, and I could have pushed myself to do that. What would your response be to that? Explore that. What would you be saying to her? How would you be thinking about that? Part of this free write exercise is exploring, who are you? Who am I? What am I aware of about who I am? Here's what I know about me. I'm impatient. I'm impatient. There are only so many hours of Netflix I can actually handle before I feel the physical need to go do something, even when I am knocked out and sick. So I already know in my recovery mode that I have to find alternate ways of engaging my mind. Who are you? What are you aware of about yourself? What's a new story that serves you better? So maybe instead of telling myself that I'm weak, my new story might be, wow, I really needed some recovery time. Wow, I really needed a break and to step back from my corporate world and my coaching world and, I don't know, my moving chaos and get a little perspective on how do we continue to take care of ourselves when all these other aspects of our lives are in motion. And we're draining so much of our energy to supporting those. The whole point of giving yourself a new story that serves you better, of exploring who you are and what you're aware of about yourself, it's not to create excuses, but it is to build acceptance. The truth is, I'm only human. The truth is, getting in my car Friday to run some errands was a bad idea because it didn't infuse me with more energy. It drained my energy and it drained my bank account because I had to pay for 2 new tires. It wasn't a good idea. Acceptance is not me justifying why I did what I did. It's me accepting I did it, not my best moment, going to move forward in a different way. It's accepting where I'm at. I am a grumpy, cranky, not fun, sick person. If exploring these angles of yourself is something you're interested in doing more deeply, then I'm going to recommend a little short Gremlin workbook I have where we just start exploring the voice in our head. What is the story we tell ourselves? What's our awareness around that story, and how do we create a new story? So if you are interested in the Gremlin workbook, just drop the word Gremlin in the chat and I will make sure that we get that to you. So the first ingredient in our recipe for resilience is compassion, self-compassion, which does, when we have self-compassion, it does translate into compassion for others. The second ingredient, it's purpose. What am I here to do? What do I want? Sometimes one of the ways we can get to a clearer sense of purpose is by identifying, what am I grateful for? What are the things in my life that I'm genuinely grateful and happy to have? What are the things that make me happy and bring me joy? How do these things maybe support my purpose? What are my gifts? What are the gifts I have to give to others, to share with the world, to share at work, to share with my family and friends? What are my gifts? Clearly, my gift is not patience. But I'm actually far more patient with other people than I am with myself. One of my gifts is that in chaos, I don't lose my mind. I don't easily get thrown into a tizzy. I don't easily get worked up into a frenzy. I have a gift that I'm grateful for, that when there's truly chaos and an emergency going on, I can stay grounded and calm. And how I choose to use that gift is honestly in my coaching. It's by working with women who are sometimes at a point of extreme burnout or frustration, fatigue, and stress. And they are so lost in their chaos that they need a grounding beacon to help them get that clarity, to say, oh, I need some perspective. So when I think about what's my gift, what's my purpose? My purpose, my chosen purpose, what gives me passion and joy, is helping other women, supporting other women in figuring out what's going to bring them the most joy, what's going to bring them the most passion around the kind of life that they're building. How can I help them build a life that makes them happy and passionate? Because in doing so, I'm building one that is happy and passionate for me. When I'm clear around my purpose and I have compassion for myself, I have a lot more resilience, because here's the deal. I can't coach you if I'm sick. And if I am not practicing what I preach, if I am not using the tools that I have available for leveraging resilience, for taking advantage of resilience, for cultivating more patience with myself, for taking care of myself when I'm sick, for pushing myself when I have the energy and drive to be pushed, right? If I can't tell the difference between those two moments, what good am I to you as a coach? If I can't tell the difference for me, how do I tell the difference for you? If I can't take care of me, how do I become that role model in how you take care of you? How do I become that influencer? How do I help you as a coach step back and get that perspective to see what you need? So reconnecting with your purpose is that second ingredient to resilience. Because when we can reconnect with that, we can reground into, right, I got knocked down, but I also know what's important to me. Which means I know how I want to move forward with this. And yeah, there's a blip, there's chaos, there's stuff going on that is distracting or derailing, but I know what I need to get back on track. In exploring purpose, this is where the role of boundaries comes in. I mentioned boundaries at the beginning of this training. You can't have resilience without boundaries, and you can't have boundaries without resilience. The two of them are intertwined. Our boundaries support our purpose. When I have a purpose and a drive and a passion to support women through coaching, through giving them the mental and emotional space to find their passion and their clarity and pursue it, that means I need to have boundaries in place that allow me to be in the healthiest possible space to offer that to you, to hold that space for you, which means there are emotional boundaries, mental boundaries. We also have boundaries around physicality, things, time, material. Yes, you can have my shirt. No, you can't have my shirt. Sexual boundaries. There are 6 or 7 different types of boundaries. And our clarity around those help us stay aligned to our purpose, help us stay aligned to our sense of self, which helps us be more resilient, have more of that elasticity when things go sideways. Now, I've done boundary training a few times, so if you would like access to one of my prior trainings specifically around boundaries, drop the word boundaries in the chat, and I am more than happy to share that with you. So it's Gremlin, the word Gremlin if you want to get some of the Gremlin training, boundaries if you're interested in some of the boundaries training. But those are your first 2 ingredients, compassion and purpose. Your third ingredient, it's connection. Your third ingredient is understanding connection. Now, how does connection build resilience? Because connection has us remember that what we say and do, how we respond to the chaos, to unpredictability, to when things go sideways, how we respond to that actually impacts other people. We are a role model in every moment for other people. We are an example in every moment for our friends, for our family, for our coworkers, for our children, for our parents. What we model impacts how other people think, not just about us and how they perceive us, but how they think about themselves. The best exercise I have for connection is one, you've heard me give it before, so I'm going to give it again because it is the best exercise. Because part of the connection piece, it's not just about reaching out and ensuring that aligned with your self-compassion is compassion for others, and along with your purpose, you are connecting with others to provide your gift. But it's understanding how you impact other people. It's you accepting that your connection with your family, your community, the universe matters. So the exercise that I give all my clients to do and my community to do, because if you've been on Training Tuesday, you've heard me offer this exercise before, is that I want you to reach out to, I'm going to say 5 people. 1 or 2 of them should be close friends, like close, intimate, people who know you, a sister, a mother, a best friend. 1 or 2 of them should be friends, maybe not so intimate, but definitely they know you. And 1 or 2 should be more in the acquaintance category. So you need at least 5, ask up to 10 if you want to. But you need at least 1 or 2 in each one of those categories. Okay? So identify people that you're going to ask, and you're going to ask this question. You're going to say, please give me 3 words that describe me. 3 adjectives. That's it. You don't want sentences, you don't want paragraphs, you don't want explanations. Now, what I often tell my clients is, you just tell them, you send them a quick text, say, hey, My leadership coach told me to do this silly exercise, so I hope you don't mind participating. Could you please just send me 3 adjectives that describe me? 3 adjectives you would use to describe me. So yes, use me as your scapegoat. My coach told me to do this exercise. I know it sounds silly, but I hope you don't mind. Nobody minds. Nobody ever minds. In fact, you will find people will love not only to give you the 3 words, but they will, even if you tell them not to, give you the paragraphs of context around why they chose those words. What those words show you is how you show up to them and the kind of impact you're having. And I think that's tremendous to recognize. It's good for our ego, but it's also tremendous to recognize how you're showing up and how other people see you, and maybe recognize you for some traits and strengths you didn't realize you had. And what I would suggest that you offer for anyone who comes back to you with those 3 words is that you give them 3 back. They don't have to be doing the exercise, and you can just say, thank you so much. I really appreciate your response. And just so you know, in fairness, when I think of you, here are the 3 words that come to mind. Because why not give them back a little bit of the gift that they just gave you? You get a lot of information about yourself when you have somewhere between 5 and 10 people coming at you with just 3 words. Start paying attention to the words that are on repeat. If more than 3 people have said the same word or variation of that same word, you're damn well sure that that's a trait you carry and exude to the world. Then you get to decide if it's one you want to keep. But that's a different story. Resilience is about ensuring that you have compassion for yourself, that you are reconnected with your purpose, and that you are connected with others. Resilience is about understanding that with that combination, you have the flexibility to spring back from anything. You have the toughness to move through and perform at a high level the goals you want to achieve. Resilience is not a trait, it's not a characteristic, it's not something you're born with, it's a practice. Excuse me. Resilience is based in our ability to ground ourselves into our sense of self, to align ourselves with our sense of purpose, to raise our awareness and to believe and trust in our purpose, in our self-love, and in our connection with others. The rest of the chaos that throws us into the need of cultivating our resilience, it's just noise. It's sound, it's fury, it's signifying nothing. It's just noise, it's wind. And yeah, it can impact us, but it doesn't have to change us. Not if we're truly aligned with our sense of self and our sense of purpose. It only changes us if we let it, and truly it should only change us if we want it to. So thank you for joining me tonight for that recipe for resilience. The recipe for resilience, which is compassion, purpose, and connection. If you would like to explore that more and get a stronger sense for yourself on either the compassion piece, let's talk about gremlins. Drop the word gremlin in the chat. I'll send you the gremlin exercise. Drop the word boundaries in the chat if you want to explore purpose and a boundaries training. Drop the word dig in the chat if you would like to do a Dirty Girl mini dig, where we spend a little bit of time, free coaching conversation, where we're going to spend a little bit of time digging deeper into your gremlin or your boundaries or whatever other challenge you bring to the table. And the goal with the Dirty Girl mini dig is for us to have a short coaching conversation that gets you one step closer, one actionable step closer to achieving your goals. It's a free conversation. It's just a coaching conversation. It's not a sales call. There's no pitch involved. It's you and I one-on-one helping you get movement going around where it is you want to drive your career, your life, your relationships. So drop the word dig in the chat if you'd like me to reach out to you, and we'll schedule that call. All right, so it's gremlins for the gremlin exercise, boundaries for the boundary training, and dig if you'd like a Dirty Girl mini dig, a one-on-one coaching conversation with me. Thank you again for joining me tonight for Training Tuesday. Tonight's topic on resilience was an important lesson for me this week. I hope it is useful for you as well. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys training Tuesday every Tuesday. Have a fabulous night.